had a Satsuki Azalea that I bought from my wholesaler. I think I bought it 2 years ago, but last year I didn't get a chance to do any sort of repotting. I had wired it up. We're still in April, and now is a good time to get away with a repot. I'm probably not going to get flowers on it, but I'm not worried about that. But I thought I'd use this as an example to tell you about the difference in soils and why you have to be careful about what you buy from shops or wholesalers, and being particularly wary about the time of the year. Main reason is it's the soil. This has been packed with a view to shipping it from Asia, so it goes into shipment containers and spends the best part of anywhere up to 4 months in a shipping container in whatever circumstances. And what they do is they maximise the ability of the soil, or whatever the potting mass in there is to retain moisture. That's ideal when you're in a shipping environment, but when it comes out and it starts seeing the sun and it's starting to try and get the energy necessary to either produce flowers or to just grow and to continue to remain healthy, it wants different soil, because what happens is it gets gunked up, the roots just get totally and utterly matted and congested. You've got a poor balance of water and oxygen, and in the end the plant will die. And I've lost many bonsais because I've never got around to doing the repots, especially with Chinese elm. And this is exactly the thing you need to watch out for when you buy Chinese elm from shops, or even if you're buying them from eBay, which is eBay or Etsy. The question I'd always ask before you commit to the bid is ask them, have you repotted the tree since it was purchased? And a lot of the good ones, and you'll get to know them, you can see from the soil that it's been repotted. It'll be, it'll be clearly either a granular like that, but some of them do have a trick of just putting it on top, and beneath the soil there is still the original packing mix. So we'll just show you what that looks like. And the other way of knowing is that if it's come overseas, invariably there's no wiring. It hasn't been secured to the pot. And you can see here, I mean, Azalea have very fine root mats anyway, but this is absolutely pot bound. It's falling away. Basically dead roots. It's very fibrous. It's either a loam or peat based mix that's in there. Certainly not Akadama, and certainly not what they should be in, which is Kanuma, which is a softer style of potting mix. I'll show you in a minute. Nightmare on the hands because it dries the hands out, but you can see from that, and you can tell it's very light. There's nothing keeping that going. So if you've got that in any sort of tree, all you've got is just roots in there basically, that needs to change. So again, I'd say to you, if you're buying Chinese elms, if you're buying anything that you think's been imported, ideally you want to buy it this time of the year or February, so that you've got a chance to give it a repot and do something with that system. So all I'm going to do is quickly tease that out, sort the roots out, wire it into a new pot, and the stuff that I'll be using is this. You probably can't see it from well. Is this, which it's a fine yellow. I don't like to touch it because I say it sucks. It just leaches the moisture. It's a much softer mix, as they call it, Kanuma. A lot of people in this country don't use it, and to be fair, the tree will do just as well without it. But at the moment, I'm going through a phase of trying to pick the right soils for the right trees. Can be expensive, but I've got Kanuma left, so I'll use it. Yeah, just rips away, and there's nothing. It's just all roots. So yeah, so I'll do that. I'm not going to show you the repot on that. I just thought I'd show you one of the things you need to watch out, mainly with your Chinese elms. Certainly Chinese elms and the things that you get in the likes of downtown places or your garden centres. That's what you've got to watch out for. So I've basically got it down to a fairly fine matting. As I say, the roots are extremely delicate, so you've got to be a little bit careful, but I mean, it's fairly hardy, so I have just teased it out a little bit. You see, that's an example. What you've got there is a little bit of brick. and that's in there. And of course, I don't know about you, but I'd struggle to grow through brick. So these are the sort of things you find, and you'd never know it. This is common with anything that's imported. Cheapest way to do it, and they just try and find something that's going to hold the moisture as best as possible while the trees stay in a relatively dormant state in the packing ship. So I'm not going to do too much more with that. Certainly you need to put them into a slightly deeper pot, mainly because the roots do have a habit of drying out and they can get scorched from the sun. So again, we just need to water. Okay, so let's just get those roots nice and damp. So decide what to do with it. The other thing obviously you need to watch out for any of these imports, you can see here clearly got the wire scarring here. A lot of the import trees will have that scarring, and it's because they're mass produced in fields or in little factories out in Asia. They put loads of wires to create the bends, and then they get packed for months on end. If you don't realise there's wire on there, or you forget to take it off, then all that happens is it just grows deeply into the tree, and it can ruin what could be a particularly beautiful tree. I mean, this has such a beautiful style to it, but that wire scar is always going to be there. Maybe over years it'll grow thicker, but it's going to be there. And some people say, well, that's part of the tree, but it's not part of the tree I like very much. So watch out for wire as well as the soil. Okay, so the pot I've picked is unusual. It's one of the Dawn Isaac bark scraped primitive range, I think she calls it. She's given me a whole list of words I'm supposed to use, but I've left them up in the house. Really interesting, but what I like about it may not seem obvious to the tree at the moment, but it's going to sit in there. But what I like about it is the depth around the backs and the sides. So relatively new, well, recovering root system. There's a lot of space in it. It's interesting, and I like something that's going to draw the eye and isn't necessarily what you'd expect, but it also gives it the safety of depth so that I can actually bury it in nice and deep and keep those roots protected. I've already made up my screens, and they're all ready to go. Here's some I made earlier. Screens in. Keep the buds, keep them budded quite close. Press them down. Never scrimp on screen. In the early days I used to try and get it so I could save as much as possible, but the truth is the more coverage you've got, the better it's going to do its job. Just protect it from gubbins coming in. Press down, there we go. Okay, I've got 1, 2, 3 drainage holes. Ideally I do 3 sets of wires, but I'm going to be happy with just 2. So, already measured out. Fit nicely. And there you go. Put a layer of Kanuma. I haven't dug anything out there, it's fairly solid. That's a technical way of doing it, isn't it? Use the scoop. Anyway, that's just going to sit in, and I'm going to, I may well use electrical earthing wire. Upward growing roots, obviously. There. As I say, I've got a nice space around the roots, and there's a depth there as well. So just enough that it's secure in there so the birds won't be able to pull it out. The only thing you have to be with Kanuma is when you're mixing it in, it is soft, so it will crush quite easily in your fingers. So I know there isn't a big root ball hole underneath this, but I do want to try and get some engagement with the roots that are there. But you are going to crush it, and certainly when you water this, you'll get a lot of fines. You can see the powdery substance over the bark of the tree here. Again, same thing, just carefully get as much of it into the air pockets or anything that you can. So I know it's tree 413, and that's going to go get updated in my database. It had a repot Kanuma. I'm just going to do some stub removal. As you see, I wired this last year, and the inevitable happens with wiring is sort of gets out of place a bit. That'll do for now. I'll give it a good watering, and hopefully that'll do well.